New footage of Keegan Bradley and Scottie Scheffler just tore through the internet, and it's got the whole golf world losing it. What was supposed to stay locked behind closed doors just turned into one of the sport's wildest scandals ever.
I am absolutely gobsmacked at how bad Scottie Scheffler is in the Ryder Cup, but I am absolutely more gobsmacked at how bad a captain Keegan Bradley is. I honestly thought Keegan Bradley was going to be such a good captain, but he is awful, and so much awful that he's picked Scottie Scheffler to drag BrysonDeChambeau down this afternoon in the Sunday four balls. It's just madness.
But don't get it twisted, there's way more to this story than that clip shows, and we're diving deep into what really went down. X went absolutely insane, hashtags blowing up, memes flying, and those savage captions trending worldwide. It was pure chaos, the kind of viral storm golf hasn't seen since that messy Patrick Reed family drama. But this time, it ain't background noise, it's front page mayhem.
We tried to set the course up to help our team. Obviously, it wasn't the right decision. I think anytime you're the leader of a team or you're the captain or the coach or whatever, we talked about this last night, you have to you're going to get the accolades and you need to take the blame for when things don't go.
The video starts slow, almost suspiciously quiet. Bradley's in a dimly lit room, rocking his golf polo, face tight with stress, half captain, half confessor. He leans in close, voice trembling just enough to catch your ear, and says, "Scottie carried the weight of the world out there. It should have been noble, maybe even heroic, but instead, it sounded like a man trying to convince himself he didn't mess up." Minutes later, golf Twitter went nuclear. One half calling Bradley a legend, the other half roasting him for next-level damage control. Class act, they said. Captain with heart. Loyal to the end. That's how one side painted him. But the rest? They weren't buying it for a second, claiming he looked like a guy auditioning for Crisis PR Sports Edition.
I definitely made a mistake on the course setup. I should have listened a little bit more to my intuition, and we, for whatever reason, that wasn't the right way to set the course up. We didn't expect the greens to be this soft.
One tweet nailed it. He's not defending Scottie. It read, he's defending himself. Then boom, the conspiracy floodgates open. Wild theories, messy threads, and chaos too juicy to scroll past. Some swore the footage was straight from an official PGA vault, secretly chopped up and leaked by some shadowy insider. Others claimed it was a sneaky phone recording from a player who had no clue it'd ever see daylight. And then came the wildest one yet, an anonymous Reddit user swearing it was a full-blown European psyop. At that point, the facts didn't even matter anymore. The story had already taken on a life of its own. And that story? Pure dynamite. As golf reporters tore apart every single frame like detectives in a crime scene, something eerie started happening. The sport once known for manners and silence suddenly looked raw, messy, and painfully real. It wasn't giving Augusta elegance, it was giving full-on reality TV meltdown. Rory McIlroy and Ian Poulter couldn't resist either. Both dropped cryptic posts about truth revealing itself in defeat. Translation, they were loving every second of the chaos. By sunset, TikToks, memes, and wild fan edits were everywhere. The internet couldn't stop spinning it. That one line, "Scottie carried the weight of the world," became golf's version of "we were on a break." It wasn't just a scandal anymore, it felt like an awakening. A full-on bethpageblack. Bethpageblack was meant to be Team USA's redemption story. The fortress where pride, pressure, and payback would finally crush Europe once and for all. But instead, Bethpage became a graveyard for America's confidence. The roars that started the day turned into stunned whispers by the end. Fans waving flags one moment, asking what happened the next. Day one kicked off the collapse nobody saw coming. Scottie Scheffler, the world's unshakable number one, paired with Russell Henley in what was hyped as an unbeatable duo, but fate had other plans. But golf, that cold poetic game, had other plans. Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood sliced through them like surgeons on a mission. Every time Scottie's shot drifted into the rough, the air got thick, heavy, like everyone watching could feel the hope slipping through their fingers. The cheers dulled, the confidence cracked, and the swagger vanished fast. By the back nine, those rowdy New York chants had died out, replaced by the quiet rhythm of golf's own funeral march. Keegan Bradley tried to keep his cool, saying, "Scottie's our anchor," after the round. But that grin, it was shaking harder than a two-legged chair. "He just wants to win for the team," he added. Noble words, sure, until the scoreboard told a darker story. Their next match, this time with Colin Morikawa, ended just as brutal. Another stinging loss that left fans stunned and silence hanging in the air. Suddenly, the unstoppable American machine started falling apart right before everyone's eyes. And then came that moment, the quote now etched in golf history thanks to the leaked video. Bradley, voice low and loaded with regret, muttered, "We set it up for ourselves and ended up helping them." Fans pounced instantly. Turns out, Team USA had softened the greens to favor their power game. but it blew up in their faces, handing Europe the perfect edge for their surgical short play. This wasn't just a tactical blunder, it was poetic self-sabotage at its finest. By the time day 2 wrapped, Europe led 5-3, but the real story wasn't on the scoreboard. It was written across Scottie's expression: empty eyes, shoulders drooped. A man crushed not just by pressure, but by the collapse of his own invincible image. Every swing looked heavier, like he was fighting ghosts instead of golfers. The internet didn't waste a second. Timelines went nuclear with memes comparing prime Scottie to Ryder Cup Scottie. Golf, the sport of calm and class, had finally found both its hero and its heartbreak, and they were wearing the same red, white, and blue uniform. Captain Keegan Bradley's so-called leadership was never supposed to look like this. Shaky hands, glassy eyes, and TikTok edits drowning in sad piano music, but that's exactly what the leaked video delivered. The once fearless captain now looked like a man trying to stop a flood with a sand wedge. You could feel the pressure bleeding through the screen, every frame dripping with tension, regret, and that haunting kind of honesty that hits way too hard. Bradley recalled a quiet talk with Russell Henley, saying Scottie was more worried about me than himself. That one line hit social media like a confession. A captain exposing his guilt in real time. Fans rushed to call it touching, a moment of brotherhood under pressure. But the analysts, they weren't buying it. He's not defending Scottie, one pundit fired back, he's defending his own mistakes. Looking back, every press conference from that week feels like one long, slow-motion apology on loop. Bradley kept praising Europe's calm, sidestepping every question about chemistry, and repeating the same line, "We fought hard." But his face said what his words couldn't hide. He was drained, running on fumes. Those weren't scripted statements anymore. They were raw leaks from a man trying to justify a dream already slipping through his fingers. By day 3, the cracks were showing everywhere. Body language, eye contact, even the fake smiles for the cameras. Scottie Scheffler, once the definition of calm, looked like a man carrying 10 lifetimes of pressure. The crowd tried to rally him, chanting his name, waving flags, but nothing could lift that weight off his shoulders. When he shanked that approach on the 16th, you could hear the air leave the course. Pure silence, the kind that stings. Meanwhile, Europe fed off the chaos. Every missed putt from Team USA felt like another spark for their fire. Rory grinned, Fleetwood fist-pumped, and the crowd roared like they were watching a movie. One where the ending had already been written. The scoreboard didn't lie. Europe was in control, and the mighty US machine was officially breaking apart in front of millions. That's when the real drama kicked in. Golf outlets started dropping exclusive sources, claiming locker room tension had reached boiling point. One insider said certain players were questioning the captain's calls, while another hinted that Bradley and Scottie had a full-blown argument off camera. The footage didn't show it, but the silence between them said everything. Social media detectives went wild, comparing practice round clips, lip-reading mid-round whispers, and posting slowed-down videos like they were solving a mystery. And then the memes? Ruthless. When your captain says it's strategy but it's sabotage, that one alone hit over 1 million views. Suddenly, the Ryder Cup wasn't about golf anymore. It was about drama, pride, and survival. What once felt like a friendly rivalry now looked like a civil war inside Team USA's own tent. As the dust settled, one truth became impossible to deny. Scottie Scheffler wasn't just losing matches, he was losing his aura. The unbreakable champion suddenly looked human, and golf fans couldn't stop watching. Bradley's emotional confessions only fueled the obsession, every word dissected, every glance replayed. The more he talked, the worse it got. Pundits began calling it the Bethpage curse, saying America's own pressure had eaten them alive. The story spread beyond sports. Morning shows, talk radio, even tabloids jumped in. Golf had officially gone mainstream for all the wrong reasons. By the time the closing ceremony hit, it didn't feel like the end of a tournament. It felt like the end of an era. The game that built legends had just revealed its breaking point. Live, viral, and impossible to forget. Then came the now legendary shot from that leaked clip. Bradley leaning back, letting out a long, defeated sigh, whispering, "Sometimes the pressure just eats you alive." It wasn't meant for anyone outside that room. But once it hit the web, it became the quote of the collapse. Within hours, the internet turned it into pure meme gold. Screenshots plastered everywhere with captions like, "Me after trying to be productive for 10 minutes." But underneath all the chaos and clowning, there was something strangely dignified about Bradley's breakdown. He didn't throw blame, didn't snap. He spoke like a man trying to make sense of his own failure. Through all the noise, he kept standing beside his guys, saying of Scottie, even when the world thought he was done, it was raw, fragile, and painfully human. The kind of honesty golf almost never shows. And just like that, it went everywhere. By day 2, the momentum was gone, completely shattered. The Ryder Cup didn't even feel like golf anymore. It felt like watching an emotional breakdown in real time. The tension was so thick you could almost taste it, hanging in the air like humidity before a thunderstorm. And Scottie Scheffler, the same man who'd ruled the leaderboards all season, suddenly looked like the living face of burnout. Once again paired with Russell Henley, Scottie went head-to-head with John Ram and Tyrrell Hatton, Europe's ultimate chaos combo.
We
Every ram drive sounded like thunder cracking open the sky, and every hat and putt hit like another dagger in America's pride. Meanwhile, Scheffler's shoulders kept sinking lower after every missed birdie, his eyes shooting upward like he was pleading with the golf gods for mercy, but they'd already clocked out. Bradley stood on the sidelines shuffling lineups like a chef trying to save a kitchen already in flames. "The boys really fought today," he told the reporters, forcing a grin so thin it barely held together. But the leaked footage exposed the truth. Bradley saying the exact same words to his team, only softer, shakier, like a captain whispering false hope to a crew that already knew the ship was sinking. "They gave everything," he murmured. "Everything just wasn't enough." That one haunting shot, Scheffler's perfect approach on the 10th that lipped out and cruelly spun away, became the symbol of the whole meltdown. So precise, so close, yet doomed from the start. Commentators played it back in slow motion over and over like it was golf's version of the Zapruder film, analyzing every bounce, every roll, every flicker of disbelief on Scottie's face. It was tragedy dressed up as golf, and everyone felt it. Online sympathy didn't stand a chance. TikToks of Scottie's missed putts were edited to heartbreak pop songs, while Twitter's top meme read, "Scheffler putting under pressure, 2019-2025, gone too soon." By the time Europe stretched their lead to 8, even loyal US fans started roasting their own team. Momentum wasn't slipping anymore, it was collapsing in real time, and the whole world was watching. By then, the energy had completely switched sides. Luke Donald's leadership looked like a chess master in control of every piece, while Bradley's strategy felt like playing Connect 4 in a hurricane. And the cruelest twist of all, the man he called his anchor, his steady rock, was the very one sinking the ship. As the sun dropped over Bethpage, a lone fan yelled from the stands, "We still love you, Scottie." But the look on his face said everything. Love don't win scoreboards, and belief can't fix heartbreak. The 15th green wasn't supposed to mean anything, just another miserable hole in a match already gone wrong. But instead, it turned into a full-blown crime scene of pride, pressure, and pure meltdown energy. It started small, a few beer-fueled taunts, sarcastic cheers after another missed putt, the kind of heckling golfers usually shrug off. But then, in a heartbeat, Scottie snapped, cameras caught every second. Scottie stepping back, jaw locked, eyes burning through the crowd like lasers. Justin Rose glanced over, Tommy Fleetwood cracked a smug grin, and BrysonDeChambeau mumbled something under his breath, trying to cool the tension, but it was too late. Within hours, fan shot clips exploded online, shaky, chaotic, and absolutely unfiltered. One video showed Scottie mouthing something nobody could quite decode, while another caught a European caddy whispering what lip readers swore was, "He's losing it." The internet lost its mind instantly. This was golf's meltdown moment, caught in 4K. The PGA's broadcast looked squeaky clean next to the raw, fan-shot chaos flooding every feed. Bradley tried to calm the storm, telling reporters it was just emotions running high, but in the leaked version, his tone hit totally different. Softer, heavier, like a man realizing his whole plan was burning down in real time. "You could feel it," Bradley admitted quietly. "The air changed on that green." And just like that, social media gave it a name. The Green Explosion. Golf memes went feral overnight. One viral edit compared Scottie's outburst to Kanye's infamous "I'ma let you finish" moment, soundtracked with full-blown orchestra drama. Another turned it into Caddyshack Apocalypse Edition. But beneath all the chaos and comedy, there was something heartbreakingly real about it. The unfiltered crack in the armor of two men who'd spent years pretending pressure couldn't touch them. For years, Scottie Scheffler had been golf's calm in the chaos, composed, unshakable, the guy who never blinked. So watching him crack, watching him actually feel, sent shockwaves through the entire sport. It was living proof that even golf's polished world isn't bulletproof, not when pressure hits this hard. The 15th green stopped being grass that day. It became the stage where golf's mask slipped clean off, etiquette shattered, and every ounce of that picture-perfect calm just vanished. The sport built on composure finally showed its rawest nerve, and nobody could look away. When Europe lifted that cup, champagne spraying under Bethpage's harsh floodlights, the American locker room felt like a wake. No laughter, no swagger, just silence thick enough to choke on. Players slumped in their seats staring at the floor, their shadows stretching long across the tile like even the walls were too embarrassed to look. Reporters lingered outside like mourners at a funeral, whispering condolences over what had just fallen apart. And then into that silent, heavy room walked Keegan Bradley. Eyes red, voice shaking, heartbreak wrapped in a golf polo. The moment, immortalized in that leaked clip, didn't just trend, it erupted. Social media went straight up in flames. He wasn't giving a standard post-match speech, he was delivering a full-blown eulogy. Scottie cared more about Russell than himself, he said, each word catching in his throat. He never stopped trying. On paper it read noble. On camera it looked tragic. But online, the internet showed zero mercy. Within minutes, the clip was chopped, remixed, captioned, and blasted across every feed. A viral snapshot of pride, pain, and the exact moment golf's perfect image cracked wide open. One tweet joked, "Bro's giving a breakup speech, not a press conference." Another snapped. This ain't leadership, it's therapy with microphones. But under all the trolling, something about Bradley's honesty hit different. It wasn't rehearsed or polished, it was raw, shaky, and painfully real. For once, a golfer wasn't talking like a sponsor robot or a stats sheet. He was just being human, stripped of all the armor. He spoke like a believer watching his faith collapse right in front of him. Bradley wasn't mourning a lost match. He was mourning the dream that heart and loyalty could still beat cold hard numbers. That golf was more than data, algorithms, and precision. In that moment, his breakdown didn't look weak. It looked sacred, like the last flicker of belief before the light finally goes out. Of course, the pundits had to chime in. Crying in defeat doesn't inspire confidence, one Golf Channel host scoffed. It just makes you look lost. But real fans, the ones scrolling through clips at 2 a.m., heard something else entirely. They heard pain. They heard truth. They heard a kind of honesty golf hasn't let breathe in years. The sport spends millions hiding emotion behind smiles and slow claps, but this was raw and unfiltered. It was uncomfortable. Yeah, but it was real. By sunrise, that leaked clip had turned Keegan Bradley into golf's accidental poet. Near the end, his voice cracked, but his eyes stayed locked in as he said, "Sometimes you lose beautifully, and that has to count for something." That line didn't just land, it detonated. Lose beautifully became the quote of the season, printed on tees, looped in TikToks, and slapped across ironic merch like heartbreak had finally found its hashtag. It turned into a tragic mantra for a team that came up short, a haunting reminder that even in defeat there's still beauty buried in the wreckage. And when the fire refused to die down, when the memes turned into mottos and the internet just wouldn't let go, Keegan Bradley did the one thing no modern athlete ever dares to do. He told the truth, not the corporate version, not the "will bounce back" slogan, but the real truth. Raw, exposed, brutally human. Days after the collapse, under those blinding fluorescent lights that made the press room feel more like an interrogation chamber than a media event, Bradley faced the cameras one last time. His shoulders sagged, his voice cracked from too many sleepless nights, and then he said it. The line nobody expected, the one that would echo long after Bethpage went dark. "This is no one's fault but mine." The words dropped like a stone into silence, heavy, echoing final. Reporters froze mid-breath, cameras clicking like nervous heartbeats in the stillness. "I made mistakes in the setup," he admitted, voice flat but full of weight. "I was stubborn with the pairings. I misread the course, it favored them." That wasn't just accountability, it was an autopsy. The kind of gut-level honesty you only hear in documentaries years later, not hours after the wreckage. For one electric moment, golf, the most polished, controlled sport in the world, turned into pure tragedy theater. Then came the leak. In the uncut version of that now infamous clip, Bradley didn't look away. He stared straight into the lens, jaw locked, eyes glassy but unshaken, like a man confessing to history itself. "I definitely made a mistake on the greens," he admitted quietly. "I thought it would help us. It didn't." No spin, no sugarcoating. Just a man standing in the wreckage of his own choices, daring the world not to look away. In a sport built on control and image, he'd just committed straight-up heresy, and it was magnificent. The reaction tore the golf world right down the middle. Some called it courage. Finally, a captain willing to bleed in front of the cameras. Others called it strategy, a desperate PR act disguised as honesty, a performance wrapped in pity. One snarky headline even read, "He's crying on cue." But none of the noise mattered, because for the first time in years, golf felt something again. It was raw, unpredictable, and heartbreakingly human, and nobody could look away. It all morphed into full-blown theater, the kind that even non-golf fans couldn't stop watching, just to see what caught fire next. One columnist dubbed Bradley the Captain Ahab of golf, and another clapped back, "Yeah, except this time he's apologizing to the whale." The metaphor hit instantly. Bradley wasn't just a captain anymore. He'd become a tragic figure, a hero lost inside the storm of his own impossible standards. Even Scottie Scheffler, silent through all the chaos, reportedly sent him a private message. "You did what you thought was right. That's all any of us can do." And in that quiet exchange, Bradley's confession became something far bigger than golf. It wasn't about missed shots or bad greens anymore. It was about a man staring down the brutal truth of leadership itself, that trying to lead perfectly in a world built on mistakes is the heaviest burden of all. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a collapse at all. Maybe it was the start of Keegan Bradley's redemption finally taking its first breath. Months later, that Ryder Cup leak still refuses to fade. What should have been a small "will bounce back" footnote in golf history has turned into a full-blown modern myth. A digital saga about pressure, pride, and one man's painfully public rebirth. It lives online now, looping forever through TikTok edits, late-night podcast rants, and Twitter threads soaked in irony. That moment when golf stopped pretending to be calm and polished and finally showed its messy, glorious human side. Keegan Bradley's name became both curse and canon. To his critics, he's the captain who cracked under pressure, the guy who cried on camera and called it leadership. But to others, he's something else entirely. Proof that even in collapse, there's power in feeling it all. But to his supporters, he's something way rarer. A martyr for honesty in a sport terrified of showing any. Either way, Keegan's story just won't die. He's become golf's newest ghost, haunting leaderboards, living in Reddit threads whispered about under every post, forever bound to 3 unforgettable words: lose beautifully. Meanwhile, Scottie Scheffler has gone quiet, a self-imposed ghosting of his own. He's back to grinding, stacking smaller wins, keeping his head down, dodging interviews like they're bunkers waiting to trap him. Whenever someone dares to mention the leak, he just flashes that polite smile and pivots faster than a caddy in the rain. But that silence? It screams. The kind of silence that keeps fans guessing, writers speculating, and the legend of Bethpage burning hotter every single day. Fans called it grace, pundits called it guilt. But the truth? It sat somewhere painfully in between. Behind the scenes, the PGA scrambled to patch up the mess, dropping press releases stuffed with words like context, privacy, and valuable learning moments. But it was too late. The public had already decided. This wasn't about golf swings or green speeds anymore. It was about the fracture beneath the trophy shine. This wasn't just golf, it was the human crack in the armor. The kind of raw emotion money can't buy and PR can't spin clean. For once, nobody cared about the scorecard. They cared about who would break first. That clip turned into a world of its own, looping on bar TVs, plastered on reaction channels, and re-edited into montages drowned in sad piano tracks. People weren't rewatching for stats or analysis. They were rewatching because it felt real. That shaky camera, that trembling voice. It became a mirror for everyone who's ever watched something they thought was theirs slip right through their fingers. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. Golf finally had its Real Housewives moment, and honestly, we needed it. Maybe that's the real legacy of 2025. Not Europe's win, not Scheffler's slump, but the day golf finally dropped its flawless mask. When a captain cried, a superstar cracked, and the world saw the truth, that behind every perfect swing lives the same chaos, fear, and desperate hope we all feel. Golf didn't lose that day, it felt, and in feeling, it finally mattered. What started as a quiet locker room debrief turned into the sport's biggest cultural explosion, a raw viral saga of heartbreak, pride, and humanity colliding in real time. Bradley and Scheffler's meltdown wasn't just about losing the Ryder Cup, it was about losing control of their own story. And in 2025, that's the real defeat, when the cameras steal the truth before you can even speak it. So what do you think? Was this weakness or raw honesty caught in real time? Drop your take in the comments. Smash that like button, share this with your crew, and make sure to subscribe to Golf Swing for more stories where even golf's calmest moments can't stay quiet for long. This is the new era where the fairways talk back. See you in the next one.